Good morning, everybody. This is Roger Thunder with the Red Road. I'd like to do a follow-up video on some previous videos I did in regards to the drone spottings, and that would be under the Star Nation videos I did and what's happening with the Star Nation and what's happening with the drone activity that began in November, around the middle of November 15th. So in that last video, I said something to the effect that after I explained every option that's available as far as what these drone sightings were, I also mentioned at the time that this stuff could disappear tomorrow and that people have the attention span of a gnat and they wouldn't remember 2 weeks from now or a week after the drone incident. It would kind of like go through the news cycle and go through the distraction cycle. Here's what I mean by distraction. So let's look at the whole big picture here. We had the drones start on or around November 15th, and it kind of ramped up to a peak around December 3rd or 4th. Thousands of sightings, all kinds of congressmen in New Jersey and even in New York recently, as much as recent as, I'd say 3-4 days ago. These drones haven't gone anywhere except that they have slipped off the radar as far as the mainstream media and even some of the YouTube alternative media views. So I said this would happen. Now, not only has that happened, but there have been major distractions. So let's look at the big layout here and when all this started and how they diffused it and all that stuff. So after it came to a peak around December 3rd or 4th, it's slowly started subsiding a little bit, like right around Christmas. Well, in the first place, if the deep state or the powers to be wanted to plan, let's say, a false alien invasion, or let's say a sighting, or let's say something to make the people a little bit panicky, let's do it right before Christmas, because Christmas will make them forget. In other words, we'll start it before Christmas, we'll ramp it up in December, and then when Christmas comes up and everybody's out running around doing their last minute Christmas shopping and getting ready for the holidays and all that type of thing, they're not going to be paying attention too much to stuff that's going on around them. It's going to kind of slip a little. It's going to be eclipsed by the holiday seasons. That was planned that way. So let's take that into consideration. So then after Christmas, going into New Year, the first day of the new year, what do we have? Well, we have major distractions, major news events, starting with the bombing in New Orleans, not the bombing, the truck terrorist attack in New Orleans that killed 15 people. All of a sudden, boom, that's on the headlines. And then immediately following that, we have the Matthew Livelsberger, the decorated Green Beret, that supposedly blew up a Tesla-type Cybertruck in front of the Trump Plaza, the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. So you had one thing on the heels of another. Those are just like two of the things that eclipse the drone activity. Now, I'd like to dive into this aspect of the truck bomb in Las Vegas. I live outside of Vegas, and I was here during the Mandalay Bay shooting, and the cover-up of that by the FBI and the sheriff at that time, how they covered that whole thing up. That was a major, major deal. And if you don't remember that, it was about the Las Vegas shooting at the Western Music concert and the guy at the Mandalay Bay spraying everybody. Supposedly it was the guy at the Mandalay Bay. But that was a complete fabrication as well. So, now we have this Matthew Livelsberger. And I'm going to go to some photos here real quick. This is all about the drone thing. I'm not really, but there are some interesting things in regards to this Las Vegas bombing, and I'm going to show you some photos right now about that. So one of the events was related to this guy, Matthew Livelsberger, a decorated Green Beret, had every medal you could think of, excellent service record, nothing in trouble with the law. I think he had like maybe 4 or 5 Bronze Stars, and also could have had a Medal of Valor. This guy was an operator, what we call in the business an operator. He knew everything. He was attached to all kinds of advanced covert ops, and he was a drone specialist. Now, this is why I'm bringing this incident into the picture here. He had excellent knowledge about drones and those type of operations. Okay, so this guy supposedly drove a Tesla Cybertruck into right in front of the Trump Hotel and detonated a bomb. But before he supposedly detonated the bomb, he stuck a .50 caliber Desert Eagle handgun and supposedly committed suicide before the bomb went off. Well, that's now the thing is that there's been closer scrutiny by YouTubers on the video that shows that possibly was bad information or false information from the FBI as far as, oh yeah, he went in, blew his brains out, and then blew. How do you do that? How do you blow your brains out? That was the first thing that came to my mind. And this gun is .50 caliber, which just basically will disintegrate the head. If you're, let's say, doing a headshot to yourself through the mouth or whatever, underneath the chin. If you did that, you wouldn't have a head left, basically, with a .50 cal. So let's go to another photo here. So this is a photo of the instant that the car exploded. Now, shortly after this, everything was just like, all you see is a big fireball and explosion. But you can definitely see the guy in here. I'll use my pointer. This was a split second, maybe a millisecond. Oh, they didn't think, the FBI didn't think that somebody could actually capture this, evidently. But you can see right here the steering wheel. This is the moment of ignition. This is the guy's head, ear right here, nose, his shoulder. Now you can obviously see here his head is still intact, all right? So there was no suicide before the explosion, and after the explosion, it would be a moot point, wouldn't it? I mean, you couldn't actually commit suicide or put a gun to your head after an explosion because you're incinerated by then. So you can see that his head is firmly intact. It isn't vaporized. There is no bullet hole or anything with a .50 caliber round. It would go through the top of this vehicle easily and probably lodge in the overhang of the valet parking area there. And also witnesses would have heard the gunshot. That's a loud, loud gunshot, a .50 cal. So this is related to, you're going to probably ask yourself, how is this related to drones? Well, I'll tell you how it's related to drones. Because this guy speaks of drones in his final letter. So let me just show you this real quick too, to show you this is a .50 caliber Desert Eagle semi-auto, and this is supposedly was recovered from the vehicle. And as they recovered it, they laid a tarp down and they laid a bunch of stuff on there. But here's my question with this. This is fishy as well. Why would you lay, if you're laying all kinds of stuff down on a tarp for presentation to the press or to, for them to be able to see certain things, why in God's name would you take a bunch of blown up mud and debris and ashes or whatever and dump it here? Because if you saw the full picture of this, they had a big blue tarp with all kinds of stuff on it, but then they had this gun. But why would you dump stuff on top of the gun if you wanted people to see what the gun looked like? You wouldn't. There's no sense in it. Got a clean tarp, you're laying stuff down, let's present it to the public, but let's dump a bunch of debris on it to make it look, why? For effect? Is that why they did it? So anyway, let's proceed on. This is an email, and this email was first featured on, I think it was the Sean Ryan show. This gentleman, Livelsberger, was, like I say, he was high up in the field. He was very well respected. Here is an email that he sent to an intel officer, reaching out to him, trying to get to some kind of talk show, and Sean Ryan is one of the highest rated talk shows, or Fox News or anything, to get his message out. Now here we go. Here's where I connect this up with the drones. This is what he said. I think it was the day before, or on, it was dated here December 31st. And this is what this Matthew Livelsberger says to this guy that he sent a secure email to. In case I do not make it to my decision point or on to the Mexico border, I am sending this now. Please do not release this until 1 January and keep my identity private until then. First off, I am not under duress or hostile influence or control. My first car was a 2006 black Ford Mustang for verification that, basically what he's saying is that this is real. This has all been verified, by the way. What we have been seeing with the drones, okay, right here, drones, is the operational use of gravitic propulsion systems powered aircraft by most recently China in the East Coast, but throughout the history, the U.S. This is very important right here. Only we and China have this capability. Our OPCEN, Operation Center, location for this activity in the box is below. China has been launching them from the Atlantic from submarines for years, but this activity recently has picked up. As of now, it is just a show of force, and they are using it similar to how they use the balloon for Signet and ISAR. Those are acronyms, which I have no idea what they mean, which are also part of the integrated comm system. There are dozens of those balloons in the air at any given time. This is so what has become of the speed and stealth of these unmanned aircraft. They are the most dangerous threat to national security that has ever existed. They basically have unlimited payload capacity and can park it over the White House if they wanted. It's checkmate. USG needs to give the history of this, how we are employing it and weaponizing it, how China is employing them, and what the way forward is. China is poised to attack anywhere in the East Coast. Then he says, I've been followed for over a week from likely Homeland or FBI, and they're looking to move on me. So anyway, that's the letter that was received before this Matthew Livelsberger supposedly killed himself and blew up the vehicle, which now there's a whole lot of questions about that. Looks like some kind of staged thing, although this letter is real. They're just trying to make it look like the guy was mentally ill and he had PTSD. And again, as usual, the Las Vegas police, in coordination with the ATF and FBI, are lying their asses off, just like they did earlier in the Mandalay Bay incident and the massive gun shooting event in back at the Mandalay Bay. I can't remember. That was probably back in like 2016 or something. I was here then. So now let me take you to, let's get back to the drone and the drones and the unidentified aerial phenomena, or the UFOs that were seen over New Jersey. And this is not stopped, people. This is just off the news. These are still being sighted everywhere, in all over the world, in the UK and in different states, parts of the United States. But let me tell you about the technology of the United States and maybe what this gentleman was talking about, sort of. So for years now, the TR3 anti-gravity, he mentioned anti-gravitic, which is the same thing. Let's see what this military.com, you can see this right here, military.com, has to say about this. It doesn't exist officially. It uses highly pressured mercury accelerated by nuclear energy to provide a plasma that creates a field of anti-gravity around the ship. Conventional thrusters located at the tips of the craft allow it to perform all manner of rapid high-speed maneuvers along all three axes. Interestingly, the plasma generated also reduces radar signature significantly, so it'll be almost invisible on radar and remain undetected. This literally means that it can go to any country it likes without being detected by air traffic control and air defense systems. Wow. Here is a supposed picture of the TR-3B at some secret air base, probably Area 51. And when it says that it can't be detected and it moves around fast and all the other different things, that's exactly, being able to disappear, this and that, can go into airspace, restricted airspace, not even be seen, cloaking abilities. This is exactly what people were describing in the New Jersey and on the East Coast and on some of the military installations and military bases that had to be shut down because these things were around. Now, they might not have been exactly this thing here, but some of them most likely were, or something similar, maybe in a smaller version. Here is another rendering of the TR-3B. Again, these are triangular shaped or V-shaped type aircraft. These are exactly what you see in the videos, the rashes of videos that we're seeing on the internet, and the descriptions by those on the ground of this almost insane bunches of these flying everywhere, okay? So this really does portray to you, I do believe, the connectivity of things and all the things that are going on right now in regards to the distractions that are being exhibited to us. What is this all for, people? This is to strike fear into people, like I said before. When I did my first video on the drones, I said it's one of three things. It's either a covert operation by our own government in preparation for a alien invasion, or it's another country with advanced technology, or it could be in conjunction with an actual appearance by the Star Nation, the Star Brothers, and they are there, and they do have ships, and they do have plasma ships, and they do have an elevated level of consciousness. And so they would intervene into any type of false portrayal of them by a government. But there is a lot of interesting variations on this theme that we don't know about. Was it a case of the UFOs, the real Star Nation, the orbs and the plasma orbs started showing up, and that the government wanted to try to take your mind off that, or let's say mask that with their advanced aircraft to where they're distracting people? Or was it their advanced aircraft is getting ready for a false alien invasion or a psyop, and all of a sudden the orbs started appearing in the skies and interacting seemingly with these TR-3B type, drone type, anti-gravitational. Let's not forget, people, that these things have been being developed since the Roswell crash back in Roswell, New Mexico, one of the first recoveries, let's say, of UFO wreckage. They tried to deceive the public on that one as well by later on saying it was weather balloons and that type of thing. But if you go to the official records, you find out that they actually recovered bodies and took the spaceship to I think it was Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and actually did autopsies on my video stopped there for a minute. Did autopsies on the bodies that were recovered at Roswell, have done reverse engineering on, there's a whole rich history. If you don't believe it, all you have to do is watch a National Geographic Explorer documentary. It's on YouTube. If you punch it in, you can find it. Of the years and years and years since the 60s, of massive sightings of the same thing that we are seeing now, including in the Hudson Valley. So anyway, I just thought I would lend some additional insight as to what's going on. And the new year kicked off with all of this stuff. And then now we have, in addition to that, just as a heads up, we got the inauguration coming, and we got the January 6th deal coming, where they tally the votes of the I forget the name of it now, the different states, the electors or whatever, to discern that Trump is actually the president. And then on around the 21st or 22nd, somewhere around there, I don't keep track of this political shit. Somewhere around there you got the inauguration. But let's look at another interesting thing before I leave here, and that is that we got an alignment of 6 major planets. Can't remember them all off the top of my head, but I know it's like, Jupiter and Saturn and Pluto, and all these things are lined up all in a row around that particular day. And I, as a wisdom keeper for the indigenous nation, have been getting strange feelings lately, kind of a foreboding feeling in a way that something between the end of January and now is happening, is going to happen, a major event, a paradigm shift. And I talked about Hopi prophecy in my Substack. Incidentally, you should subscribe to my Substack. I'll put the link below, because I put a lot of information in there that I don't think is appropriate for, I don't want to, violate any guidelines and all that kind of stuff. But Substack, you should subscribe to immediately. I request that you do that because I would like to have more subscribers, and it's free. Although if you want to support this channel and the information I put out, you can get a paid subscription, and that would help support me. But you don't need to get one right away. You can go in and check it out with a free subscription. Again, I'll put the links in the show notes and in the commentary section as well. So just be aware that we're in a very critical time right now. For my viewers, I would just say, have your situational awareness up. Don't be deceived by all the stuff that you are going to start seeing going down. And this UFO, this drone thing isn't going away. They just put it on the back burner for now for some reason. But they are covering up the stuff like I presented today with this Matthew Livelsberger and related incidents, and they are trying to distract. And as usual, the FBI and the government are lying their asses off, just like they did back in the occupation of the Wounded Knee and the arresting of Leonard Peltier and all the stuff that we've seen up to this point by them. Is doesn't take a rocket scientist, no pun intended, to figure out that these people are deceptive, evil, freaking liars. And they have an agenda, they have dark agendas, just like they did back when they committed genocide on the natives of this land. And I will get back more into doing videos, because that's really what this channel is about. But the reason I jumped into the drone thing is because it is associated with prophecy of the Hopi people, which I have done many articles on my YouTube, on my Substack, and I have done videos on here. If you want to be educated in these matters, if you want a shamanistic wisdom keeper of the indigenous nation point of view, this is where you're going to find it. But I also have a lot of other talents, being a completely rated pilot, and actually was involved in aviation investigation, went to school for that, and other types of investigations. So that's why I like to hone in on this type stuff and inform you. So I appreciate you watching this video. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section, or if you have any statements about the things that I've said, put that in the comment section. I'll consider it. We can get some dialogue going here, and that'll be great. And you can look forward to me continuing on with the indigenous nation postings, and as well as keeping you updated on events. This all fits into prophecy. This all fits into Hopi prophecy, and it also has much to do with the Star Nation and the Star Brothers, who are really, again, like I said before, are not down with deception. And then we can talk further about things like emergence and major paradigm shifts coming up and things like that. Not for fear-mongering, but just for information. So anyway, I'll leave it there. This is Roger Thunderhands, The Red Road, saying thank you, or Wopila and Aho.